42. No.
Should we go back to primping again? Okay.
I don't care.
Hey everyone, it's Rachel Dawn.
Hi.
This is my friend Jennifer Beckham.
Yes.
If you have read my book, you have read her foreword to the book. And I don't know, some of you already know Jennifer. You were connected with her before you were connected with me. I know some of you know who she is, but Jennifer is an author and publisher. Will you introduce yourself?
I'm Jennifer.
She's an author and a
Okay,
public
so
speaker as
I
well.
just literally walked in this Starbucks. She didn't even say hi to me before she started doing this, so...
I want it to be authentic.
It's very authentic.
Authentic.
As she's all dressed up and didn't tell me. But I'm good. We're cool. I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you. And I hope you can hear us over this music.
I know.
All right. It's going to be good. Go. Talk to me.
Okay. So, Real Talk with Rachel, hashtag Real Talk with Rachel Dawn, episode 4 is happening this weekend.
Beautiful.
We're talking about finding your purpose and what that looks like, okay?
How about refinding your purpose?
Okay, yes.
We can do that too.
Right. So this is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So I talked to my audience ahead of time and I asked everybody, hey, what do you struggle with in finding your purpose? What do you, because I want to know where different people are, because talking about finding your purpose may mean something different to me than it means to you. And so I wanted to gauge where you guys were. I got a lot of great feedback. I love that. I want this to be super interactive.
Okay.
So while I'm down here in Jacksonville, I said, hey Jen, let's get together and I'm going to ask you some super deep questions about life.
Yeah, she didn't say that. She said, let's get together to just hang out. Okay, we're good.
Awesome.
I'm totally good with this.
So,
She's using me, but other than that, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Let's do it. All right, purpose is good. Purpose is good.
Okay, so real generic, well, I guess generic, basic, whatever, however deep you want to go with this. What do you think that your purpose is?
Mine specifically,
Sure,
or
yeah.
all of us?
Do both.
Okay. Well, okay, so I'm also a minister of gospel,
Right.
so I believe that all of our purpose is that we would bring God glory
Right.
in every and anything that we do.
Right.
So, and as a result of that, it doesn't really even matter what that specific purpose is. You can do anything and bring God glory. And how do we do that? We do that by using the gifts, the talents, the abilities that He gave us,
Yes.
Finding them, cultivating them, and then using them to grow His kingdom.
Yes.
So that's my little religious shtick. All right, or I should say relationship shtick. But what is my purpose? You know, my purpose has changed many times.
Okay.
And if I'm being truly authentic today, I just met a friend for lunch and I told her that I feel like I'm in the how Stella got her groove back moment.
Good.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that means that you can also very much have a purpose in one moment and to go through stages and phases and seasons of your life where you begin to go, oh crap, what am I supposed to be doing now? And that's okay. I think that sometimes is a rite of passage to a greater purpose sometimes, or at least a different purpose, which you can make great too. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So one thing that I specifically wanted to ask you about, so for those of you, for anybody who hasn't read Jennifer's book, her book is Get Over Yourself, 7 Principles.
To get over your past,
subtitle too.
to get over your past and on with your purpose. I do know. And actually, it's funny that we laugh about that because that was my purpose for so long, and I literally ministered those 7 principles on the road for about 10 years, and I actually wondered at one point whether or not I would ever say anything else. And someone once told me that when you know that season is done, you'll know it. Like when you wonder, and you know that you'll know it, and I did. When it fell out of my heart and my head, and it's still very relevant and it's still very effective for those that are reading it and going through it even now today. But for me, that's not what blows up my skirt, fires my rocket type thing. You know what I mean? So I'm starting. So I went through a season where I didn't even really know what my message was, to be honest with you. And so now I'm kind of finding that again.
Well, that'd be a scary place to be, being a writer and a speaker and
and losing
right.
Because normally you're I think that how the transition's supposed to go, Rachel, is that you're supposed to come out of one season and into the next with a very passionate. But I literally got so stressed out and so overwhelmed that I bowed out, and I literally backed out and had to regroup my entire life and rethink, and I disappeared for a couple of years. And when I stepped off of stages where I was speaking to 10 and 20,000 people at a time. So I reached a place where my dream came true, and then I looked around and went, not sure I want this anymore. So I had to step back as a mom, a wife, a minister. I was losing myself in the midst of everybody else's opinions of who I should be. And so when I realized that wasn't healthy for me, I stepped back, I regrouped, but then I lost everything. And I went through a season of feeling very irrelevant on this earth. And now I'm just at that place where I realize that I'm not irrelevant. I just don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Sure.
But I began taking care of myself again. I began to work out again. I began to start eating better again. I came out of my hole and decided that I'm going to live life even though I don't really know what that is just yet. And I'm right now at that place where I'm I can see straight again. So I think that those seasons are super scary. But again, life is really not about understanding it. It's about the journey, and it's about trusting. And my trust is in my God, and He knows what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I get clear enough to hear Him, I will.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. So for those of you who don't...
I probably just confused absolutely everybody with
it's so awesome because you're hitting on so many of the talking points that I have written out for Sunday. This is perfect.
You to miss.
So for those of you who don't know Jen's original story, so Jennifer was a Disney princess. Literally, she played Cinderella at Disney World. Disneyland. Disney.
Yeah.
Okay. So
both Tokyo Disneyland, MGM Studios,
yeah.
Cinderella, Snow White, Mary Poppins, Belle, and Sleeping Beauty.
Right.
Yeah.
So you did that, and then
long time ago. I'm 42.
And then
I'm 42.
And
I'm
then
old lady.
in your story, you talk about how you got saved at a Billy Graham crusade.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you married a preacher. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward, I don't even remember if you tell the story in your book or not of okay, so you got saved and you married a preacher, and then oh, here I am today, I'm a preacher and I travel and I speak to crowds and but how did you get from there to there? What was that moment, or what did that look like? How did you know when your purpose was speaking and writing and preaching to people and versus on a Disney, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did that look like? How did you know when God called you into that? How did you know that was the right path?
So you don't know. We all just fumble through life and figure it out as we go. The problem is, and the only time, the only time that you're not really moving forward is when you're waiting for it to drop out of the sky onto you. So it's your daily habits. It's your daily showing up and figuring it out and doing what it is you feel called to do today.
Yes.
And you need to really stop worrying about next year, and then you realize that you really can't even worry about next week.
Right.
I just have to show up today.
Right.
And so I was saved at 19 at Disney, and then I was married at 21, and then I was married to a preacher, but very much not preacher material. I was a little bit of a heathen. So I married a preacher, and so I had to get cleaned up, and I had to renew my mind, and so I started working on me.
Right.
Because before you can ever pour out to somebody else, you've got to have something to pour out to them. And so if you're completely empty, then the season that you're finding yourself in is probably wanting to run ahead and rush to your purpose, but you have to understand that you've got to start with you.
Yeah.
Because you're not ready yet for that next season as much as you think you are. As much as you think you are. And God's main purpose is to create a character that will sustain you when you get to where He's bringing you to. So you feel like you're wasting your time right now just working on you and renewing your mind and getting rid of the toxic BS and that BS is your belief systems.
Right.
I don't think that that's a coincidence that they're both BS, because a lot of our belief systems are fully screwed up, and those have to change in order for you to teach others. And so you feel like you want to rush ahead, but you find out quickly that you are working towards your future every day when you're working on these things.
Right, absolutely.
And so that the reason you don't know what happened between there is because that was like my journey of just finding myself, finding God to find myself, because you don't find yourself without finding Him. He's your creator. He's the one that made you, formed you, created you. So finding Him will help you to find your purpose. So that's your starting point. So in there is what I was doing. I was finding God. I was finding myself. I was getting rid of toxic thinking. I was getting rid of old belief systems that were not going to enable me to go to the next level. And then I was stepping out, making mistakes, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, writing for 7 years, middle of the night, and going, is this ever even actually going to become a book, or are you just hanging out with me, God? You know? And so, and then I think after 7 years somewhere of just writing in the middle of the night from like midnight after I put my kids to bed, and then my husband to bed, and then I would start my third shift and start writing, start writing. And sometimes I would write till 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I would write till the sun came up, and I was so charged that I would just continue my day. So somewhere in there from like year 7 to year 10, because it took me 10 years to write a 200 and something page book. That's embarrassing to say, but
she got it done.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's about finishing. And so somewhere in there, it was. That's, I think, where the journey really started laying down some things that I could finally see that I was getting ahead.
Yeah. One of the other big themes of what you guys, your feedback to me was, so what I struggle with most in finding my purpose is, how do I know when it's actually what, because our heart, your guys, it's awesome. Your guys' hearts are in the right place. And so you're going, how do I know? I want to be obedient to God, but how do I know when it's what He's calling me to? And not just what I want or what I want to be doing? Like, how do you know that?
Super simple answer to that question. The Bible says that He will give you the desires of your heart. Here's the thing. The closer you get to your Father, the more your heart begins to line up with Him. So now your desires become His desires. So when you're following after your own heart, you're really following after His heart anyways, because the closer you get to God, the more your heart begins to change into His heart. So there is no worry or fear that, wait, this is my desire. No, wait, this is God's desire. No. The closer I get to God, the two become one, and now I can follow my own heart because I know that my heart is aligned with His.
And I'm sure I'll talk about this more on Sunday, but that was something that I struggled with when I first felt like I knew God was calling me to write. Like, writing is my passion. It's what I love to do more than anything in the world. And so...
Okay, hang on. Let me interject. Sister. Writing to me is an arduous task that I'd rather put a bullet in my head. Okay, so you can be a writer and still feel both things. Just wanted to clear somebody up in case you went, then I'm not supposed to be writing because I don't like it. Good, just show up, park your butt, and get it done.
If that's what you know.
If you have a message in you. If you have a message in you that needs to get out. Sorry. If you have a message in you, she's not just touching you. But if you have a message in you that needs to get out, and God's called you to do it, it won't always be enjoyable. You just need to know that.
Yes, that's a great point. No, that's an awesome point. And we've talked about that before. And it is funny because it is my passion. It's the thing that I love more than anything in the world.
You're a fantastic writer.
And so when I felt like God was saying, this is what I want you to do, I felt guilty about it. I felt like this is just me being selfish and doing what I want to do. I couldn't see that was what God really wanted me to do.
Gotcha.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because when God told me to write, I said, nope, I so hate writing. Because you're a great writer, it flows from you. It takes more work. And I'm a speaker who writes, not a writer who speaks.
And I'm a writer who speaks.
And there is very much a very big difference on that. But you can be either one. And still be called in. And either way, we both have to show up.
Yes. Yeah, because for me, when I started speaking, that was when I felt totally in over my head. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And I don't have a place in this. And who am I? And what? No, I'm a writer. So yeah, so it's good. So show up, pursue God, because when, like Jen said, when your heart is aligned with His heart, you're going to be moving in the right direction. Stop second guessing things. Just show up and do what you think that God, like she said, what you think God is calling you to today, and that can change tomorrow, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty in just walking with Him and it being a relationship and just being obedient. And so
sometimes what I'm doing today, what you're doing today, it may get trashed, especially when you're a writer. What I just wrote today may totally end up in a trash pit somewhere. However, that may have brought me to my next thought that does get kept.
Yes,
and so you do have to show up every day, and what you did today may not matter, but it matters because it brought you to the next place.
Right,
so you
absolutely.
just remember that.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's some freedom for you. There's some peace of mind for you.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this some more this weekend. I have another special guest joining me that I can't wait to introduce you guys to. Her name is Jamia Lewis, and she's actually writing a book on purpose right now herself. And she has a totally different perspective and a background than I do, so I'm excited to share her with you guys. And so we'll talk to you then. Bye. Bye.